Good evening, guys. What's up? Engineer Pat 5290 coming to you with the final Model Railroad Mondays for 2022. It is December's edition. Uh, it's the last one of the year and also the one before Christmas. So I hope all of you guys are ready for a big day as well as putting the train up for the holidays, things like that. Hope all of you guys are ready to rock with that. Um, a couple of quick announcements before we get started. I'm going to try to do some announcements before. Just want to change that up a little bit. The fall Q&A response, the fall Q&A prompt, excuse me, remains out. It's a little bit further back on the channel, but I am accepting answers until I believe the day is 12/29/22. So you don't have a lot of time left, but you do have some time left. So if you will, please make sure you check that out. When this video is uploaded, I'll remember to put a link in the description. So, I will look and see who we have. I just pulled it up here on the desktop here. Joanne, what's going on, girl? How's it going? Ready Company Productions is also in. Good to see you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you guys are enjoying your Monday evening. Man, I love my coffee. Oh, thanks, Joanne. I appreciate it. I love the Christmas tree. Thank you very much. Modern Model Trains. Hey, what's going on, man? How are you? Great to see you. Great to see you. Now we got some folks coming on in, which is great. Tonight's going to be more like we always do every month with Model Railroad Mondays for the ones of you who are new. I know Joy is new to this. We talk a lot about model trains, the different scales, how to buy a new set, things like that. And maybe even to answer, maybe even how to maybe fix something real quick or how to shop for something, things like that. So if you got questions, please do not hesitate to ask. There might be somebody on here that may know the answer, and I may know the answer. So we're all a good little community here. So definitely ask questions, guys. I cannot stress it enough. I'm basically just waiting on you guys to ask questions, and we'll go from there. Alex F40PH NS, what's going on, man? We got another new user. How's it going, man? So, and Rennie Company Productions has welcomed everyone. Thank you, sir, very much. I much appreciate it. So I will go back to the desktop real quick and take a look and see what's coming up. Hope you guys are ready for the holidays. I most certainly am. It's definitely the most wonderful time of the year. I've always enjoyed it, just not only for snow, but also for other things as well. But I've always loved this time of the year. Steve Casey's on. Hey, what's going on, Steve? Definitely great to see everybody up here. So start asking questions, guys. Lay on back. I've got my coffee. I got the Christmas tree on. So please, come on down and let's have some fun. I've been drinking coffee for about a month now, and coffee's actually pretty darn good. The way I like it, it's got to have creamer in it. It's got to have creamer. Steve Casey asked the first question of the night. Thank you, sir. Thoughts on AccuRail rolling stock kits? I've had one, and the AccuRail kits are pretty good. I've always been a fan of the Athearn Blue Box kits. I miss the Blue Box era of Athearn. I really do. Because they actually had some pretty cool kits. And everybody's had kits, but Athearn and AccuRail were actually really good when it comes to kits. Modern Model Trains ask, you're going to get a big boy? I don't know. It depends on the budget, my man. I'm telling you right now. I just don't know. I just don't know. Maybe not, but it's cool to have, and it's a cool collector's item. But I'll be 100% honest. I probably won't find one, but I know there's some railroaders that do have one. and they love running those. It's a 288 or 2664 locomotive. It's a big dude. Joanne Martz asked a really good question up here as well. And I've got Highball Productions in. What's going on, man? How's it going? Man, got some real good questions coming in. All right, let's see. What's the best train sets for a beginner? Well, it depends on not only the budget, but also the amount of space you have in your home or wherever you would like. If you're looking for HO sets, which means half the size of O gauge, which is 187th, compared to O gauge, which is 184th, to 148th, excuse me. Bachmann is a really good HO scale starter set. I started with Bachmann back in 2007. It's a really good beginner set. Most of the sets come with track, locomotives, some cars, a power pack to at least get started, and you can always expand later. I did HO just because I love the size of it. You can do a lot with HO. Even N-scale, you can get a really... And Bachmann's had some good N-scale sets as well as Kato. Kato's done really good N-scale sets. And N-scale is 1 to 160, the size of the real deal. And that is half the size of HO. I don't go any smaller than N-scale, because Z-scale is extremely tiny. I could not work on Z-scale. I have done some N-gauge work for myself. I have done HO work. HO is really good. O-gauge is really good. For O-gauge, Lionel is the way to go. For HO, for a beginner, start with Bachmann and then work your way up to Ather and Atlas and some of the other ones. So I hope, Joanne, that answers your first question. Highball Productions asks, thoughts on Aura's miniature new SD60F? I forgot Aura existed there for a second, but I don't expect anything less. I mean, I heard Aurora is pretty good. Them doing a rendition of the SD60F, that's a locomotive that actually a lot of people forgot existed. That's a locomotive that nobody really talks about. That was solely purchased by Canadian National, I think. They're the cowl units, like the ones that look like a big barn, like the C40-8Ms. They're pretty nice as well. C. Casey reference is nice. I just finished assembling a KCS covered hopper. Took me about an hour to assemble it. Wow, because there's a lot of the detail parts in there too. Has Bachmann, this is Reading Company Productions, him asking, excuse me. Has Bachmann or Kato released an N-scale version of the 734? Now, which steam engine are you referring to? Tell me what railroad, to be a little bit more specific. Modern Model Trains, as River Rossi sells old big boys for up to 300 and up. Yeah, because SMT Mainline actually has a River Rossi big boy that he has run in the past. And I think he was able to fix it up and get it running pretty nice. I forgot River Rossi did one a long time ago. Joanne asked another question. Would you buy a Polar Express train? Well, it is a popular set. Do not misunderstand. I know a friend of mine who bought a Lionel set, a Lionel Polar Express set, and they did a not a Polar Express theme, but a Christmas theme train layout with the Polar Express set, and it looks really nice. They were able to get it for, I think, a pretty nice deal. But the Polar Express set is a really fun set. The movie came out in 2004 with Tom Hanks as the conductor. And that movie is really good. I remember seeing the movie. The Western Maryland 734, not to my knowledge, but if somebody else in the stream actually knows that answer, let me know and drop it in the chat below. Yeah. So keep the questions coming, guys. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Lots of good questions so far. Keep them coming, guys. I'd like to see these questions just because it gets everybody in the group involved, as well as some of the beginners who might be looking for something in particular. Steve Casey says, I got a Conrail with NS Patch GB48 at the train show. Takes me back to the early 2000s. Indeed. Athearn Roundhouse locomotive. Nice. I'm sure you got a pretty good deal because Athearn bought Roundhouse, and that's almost like a blue box era, I guess, but I'll tell you right now, Atherns are built pretty tough. Whichever line you choose, Athearn locomotives are built like tanks. You can't destroy them. Bachmann locomotives have become the same way too. You can't destroy those things. Joanne asked me, do you have a train set around your tree? I think I see your tracks. Yes, I do. The set that I have below, I'll give you the history on that. It is an old Athearn set from about 1996, 1997. It was very late Athearn blue box. I could tell by the construction of the locomotive. The locomotive still runs, as well as the freight cars are in good shape. It came with 3 cars and a caboose. I still have the original components. The track is Bachmann's Easy Track, where it snaps together. An old school transformer as well, which is pretty nice. And it was really simple to hook up. And I recently had the engine serviced back in June, and it runs superior. And I've added cars that I've collected over time, and that thing's a pulling horse. And I've recently put a video of that on my channel as well. And if you guys would like later on, I can definitely do a little quick run while it's on the live stream, if you guys would like. So, really good question, Joanne. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, keep some questions coming, guys. I still got some warm coffee and everything, so keep on chatting away. So, yeah, like I said, any questions about model trains, guys, please ask. I cannot stress enough. I will say it again. Please do not hesitate to ask. But, yeah. But like I said, Roundhouse is actually a pretty good line of trains. Roundhouse themselves were a really good company for model trains. There are a lot of names back there that, out there that some model railroaders don't mention much now. Roundhouse is mentioned a little bit, the original Roundhouse. Their boxes were really cool. Had the semaphore signal in there. It said Roundhouse on the side. Oh, yes. I love the Roundhouse boxes. Another name that actually did HO trains that some people forgot about was Marx. M-A-R-X. And Marx was famous for their O-gauge sets. And they actually did some HO. And SMT Mainline has actually fixed some Marx products. And they're pretty good. Plan on getting a Walters KC de Mexico ES44 for Christmas. Awesome, Steve. Joanne asked, do you have a CSX train set? I do not. I do have a CSX engine in my collection, but not as an actual set. It's an engine that was handed down to me 2 or 3 years ago. It's an old Athearn Genesis older run, and that engine has actually been almost completely rebuilt. I dropped a new motor in it, put digital command in there, as well as a rear truck was recently replaced, and the engine runs superior now. It was a DC locomotive, which means directional current, which is a regular standard locomotive, but I did put digital command in it. So it's a pulling horse. Bachmann engines, speaking of pulling horse, they can pull. Bachmann engines can pull. And like I said earlier, they're built really well. Same with Athearn Genesis. Athearn Genesis locomotives are built well. So, yeah. Keep on the questions, guys. I'm loving this already. Heck yeah. If you would like to ask something specific, please ask. Should Athearn do train sets again? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm really surprised that Athearn does not do sets anymore. I know Walters has done some sets in the past. I think they still do. I think Atlas does a few sets. But mostly for HO, Bachmann's been still doing sets. For N-Gauge, Bachmann and Kato have done. I don't know if Kato has done HO as far as sets go. Now, for HO, for products, Kato has done a whole lot of them. A whole lot of products like ST40-2s, -9s, Genesis, F40PHs. They did a really good rendition of the F40PH. But if anybody can confirm that Kato has done HO sets in the past or even present, let me know in the chat, and I would love to take a look. I'd love to maybe look at some of them. But I know Lionel is still doing sets for O-Gauge. I'm trying to think now who else is doing sets. I know Bachman has done it for N-Gauge, HO, and LGB for G-Gauge has done G-Gauge sets. And the G-Gauge sets are pretty nice, but they're big. They're 1/29 scale of the real deal. So keep on the questions, guys. I love this. I really do. Joanne Martz asked me, do you like train shows? Yes, thank you. Train show galore is all I got to say. You could look at every table for like 15 minutes straight and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to buy something right now. Oh my goodness. I would love to go to a train show and spend all day there and not buy anything. I would just love to look. So, I mean, sometimes I do buy something. I sometimes do. But I'll tell you right now, train shows are legit. The Mom and Sons Train Rail fans, hey, what's going on, Tammy? Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. I love this time of the year. Like I said earlier, I love this time of the year. It's one of my very favorite times of the year. So, yeah. And they have a channel as well, too, guys. The Mom and Sons Train Rail fans. They've done some Christmas decorating on their layout. So, definitely give them a subscribe and definitely give them a look. Subscribe to everybody here on the chat, guys. Everybody here on the chat, please subscribe to them. Joanne March just started her YouTube channel up. Please give her subs, guys. She's building her channel. So please, please, please give everybody in this chat a subscribe. Tap the notification bell to get the updates on their videos. Please show them some support, guys. Joanne asked another good question. What do you buy at train shows? Well, there's a lot of good things at train shows. There are a lot of engines. There are a lot of cars, rolling stocks and things like that. They also sell, some vendors sell scenery things like trees, ballast, so you can ballast your track, things like that. Some guys like to sell accessories like little buildings, factories, things like that. There's a lot of good things up there, and I've seen a lot of unique things. And you can, for some places, they would buy like train pictures. You can buy train shirts and hats, and it depends on where you go. But there is a lot of cool things up there in train shows. It's legit. N scale, HO gauge, G gauge, O gauge, new and used items. Oh my goodness. You can go for days. And you could be like for days in that store. You could buy a lot of things in there. One of my friends went to a train show with me this past winter. He just said to me, man, there's a lot of stuff up here. And I said, yeah. It's addicting. He said, I love this. He's one of my good friends from school, but when I went to high school with. And he does O-Gauge, so yeah. Ready Company Productions says, does Athearn ship locomotives with the functional strobe lights? I think they have in the past. I don't know if they've done any most recently. If anybody knows about the recent stuff that Athearn's done with the strobe light, leave a comment in the chat. Would love to know that as well. But getting back to Joanne's question, there's a lot of things you can buy up there. That's a lot of things you can buy. I wish Athearn Walters would do KCS 4006. Yes, the veterans unit. That's one pretty ace. That's all I've got to say. I love that ace. I love a lot of locomotives, guys, but that engine is beautiful. Joey asked me, would you get a Thomas locomotive? Well, if I was doing a Thomas-themed layout, then yes. Especially for the little kids. It's kind of cool. Everybody loved Thomas when they were a child. I most certainly did till I was like 5. And then I got into the model trains like my dad was. Because my dad, I asked my dad, how'd you get in the train? He said, buddy, I think you got me in the trains. I don't know, but I was into it. And then I got into the real big trains. And plus, when I see Thomas now, let me tell you something. Y'all can laugh when I say this. My hair literally turns gray. I mean, literally. Because when I see the younger children laugh and get excited and smile when they see Thomas, it takes me back to a younger me. Because I had Thomas G. Gage set when I was a kid and a James set when I was a kid too. I later passed those down to somebody who wanted them. And I said to my parents now, I said, yeah, let's pass it on down to somebody who I think would enjoy it. So, you know, I'm really glad to see the younger children loving Thomas. And I love the fact that Strasburg hosts Thomas. I think they still do. That's where I wrote Thomas. And other places do. And I think it's wonderful. You know, like I said, it makes me feel like an old man. And I still laugh when I hear the kids like, oh my gosh, it's Thomas. Oh my goodness. It makes me laugh and smile every time. And I just sometimes do this. Man, that was me when I was a child. And Rennie Company Productions says agreed. Yeah, it just makes me feel like an old man. Same thing with me in transit. Hey, I understand. I completely understand, dude. But, yeah. But if I did a Thomas theme layout, I would definitely get Thomas. CK he says, I did find out where Atlas 64 Trinity Reefer at the train show last weekend. Wow. Trinity Reefer, talk about something rare. Who is better, NS or CSX? Oh yeah, without hesitation, NS. That's just because of who I grew up with. That's just really who I grew up with. Each are both unique, and Reading Company, I can agree with you on this one as well. Both companies are unique in their own way, but Norfolk Southern is what I was mostly around when I was a kid. You know, CSX some, but my heart is always on Norfolk Southern for various reasons. But I don't let you compare them too much. I understand. I completely understand, brother. Excuse me, I apologize. Oof. So keep on the questions, guys. This is actually off to a really good start. We're going to continue this for a little bit, so please ask questions. Please ask questions. I love when people ask questions. So keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming. Steve says, if I find a Tropicana Juice Scheme Reefer, I'd get one. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love seeing those on CSX, as I believe they have a contract with Tropicana. Well, Tropicana is owned by Pepsi. But I love seeing Tropicana juice cars. Do you know how to build a railroad layout? Joy's question is really good, and let me stop on this for a second, guys. This is a really good question. I've been asked this question several times, actually multiple times as I've been doing this, but the first time on the stream. Well, I can give you some pointers on where you could start. I have built some things in my head before just because I've built some things over time. But it depends on what size layout you want. Because every layout that's out there is different as far as dimensions, as far as like a 4x8 or a 5 foot by 9 foot. Some people like to do a 10 foot by 16 layout for like a big club. Things like that. So every layout is different. Some guys like to do 4x8 or a 4x8 sheet of plywood. Just build a frame with some joists in it, which are the supports that go in between the frame like this, and make some legs on it, and you've got a table. Ready Company, I'll get to your question in just a second. But there are some other facts you got to consider. You know, your space, obviously what scale you want to do. I've got a lot of guys out there. I know a lot of people have just done a 4x8 layout for HO, which looks good. 4x8 for O gauge actually looks pretty good. Obviously, the more space you make on the layout table, the more you can expand. But if you want just a basic, simple layout, a 4x8 sheet of plywood is actually pretty good where you could start. You know, eventually you could put the tables together if you wanted to. If you wanted to. But, of course, that's over time, obviously. But for a lot of guys, they go 4x8 because the 4x8 sheet of plywood is already cut. You don't have to take out the circular saw to cut the piece of plywood. The only thing you would have to get are some 2x4s. It's not really a 2x4 anymore. It's 3.5 by 1.5 now, or 1.5 by 3.5. Excuse me. Cut them to length. Basically, nail or screw the boards together. Run a couple of joists in there to give it some support. Screw the table down. Put some legs on there to the desired height. Then put the track and whatever else you want on there, and you're done. So that's one of the simple ways to go. Even a 4x8 for N scale is good too, and plus N scale doesn't take up a lot of space, but you can do a lot with HO scale and N scale. N scale and HO scale are more of the scenic type and more detail. For O gauge, there is some detail in there. Do not misunderstand, but you can add operating accessories and things like that. One example of an O gauge layout that I would highly suggest everybody to look at is Eric's trains on YouTube. Eric Siegel has been on YouTube since about 2005, 2006. He has a layout that spans like 3 rooms in his home. It's incredible with it. It's the Appalachian and Western layout is what he's named it. He's got a lot of trains, guys. It's operating accessories. He's done a lot of scenic work. He is a really good guy to look at. He does product reviews all the time, and he is the one that inspired me to do one. So Eric's Trains is one you have to definitely look at for O gauge. He has an impressive layout. So definitely give him a look on YouTube, guys. Definitely give him a look. All right, I've got some other questions up here. I know I had one that just came in. Let me take a look, see what I got. Has there ever been a release of the RBMN 425 in HO or N? I'm not 100% sure, but if somebody knows, leave a comment here in the chat. Would love to know. Thoughts on the Bachmann 440 Central Pacific and Union Pacific steam locomotives? Those are pretty good. I'm really glad to see that Bachmann is continuing to innovate or find not only new products to release like the ACS 64s and the SC 44s, and they're going back to some of the older stuff they released back in the 70s and 80s and continuing to improve on. I love the fact that Bachmann has gone back and done that, and I'm sure all the manufacturers have done that, but Bachmann in particular, because you can look at a car, let's say they produced in the 80s, and they've reissued it multiple times, and they go back and improve it every single time. I love that about Bachmann because, you know, my dad did HO back in the late 70s, early 80s, more or less the 80s, and I can spot cars and say, hey, my dad had this car back in the 80s, and they're still making it. It's impressive to say that. Even the Swift refrigerator car, they're still producing that one. As a matter of fact, mine was just rebuilt with KDs on it. So, really glad to see that some of the older releases are still getting produced today, which is impressive. So, Joanne asked me, would you give me a tutorial on how to build a layout on your channel? Well, you know you've inspired me to do another video. What I can do is, I plan to do a series called The How-Tos for Model Railroading. You know, where to begin, how to maybe determine your space and things like that. That is an upcoming project, and the building aspect is going to come into that. Because I want to just cover, you know, what model railroading is, you know, what it consists of, things like that. That will be in the works. It's probably going to be sometime after the new year before I get to that. Because I've been busy with work and other circumstances have come up. So I haven't been on YouTube as much, but that is definitely something that I'll be able to look at. And I may even do a live stream of this, like I'm doing Model Railroad Mondays. I may do a special edition of Model Railroad Mondays specifically for this. So that's something that I am considering to do possibly after the new year. Date, time will be announced later. So definitely good to, and Mom and Sons Train Rail, the Mom and Sons Train Rail fans, perfect, because both of you have inspired me to do another video. Thank you so much. Steve KC comes, if this is not allowed, I apologize. No worries, Steve. Have you ever to the NS Modelers 24's YouTube channel? It's been a while, but I have. Excuse me. I have checked him out. It's been a long time. From what I remember, he does pretty good work. But like I said, for O-Gauge guys, please check out Eric's trains on YouTube. His name is Eric Siegel. He does really well with all of his stuff. And another thing that I will mention about Eric, Eric is very detailed when it comes to a product review. And he's actually the one, I said this earlier, he inspired me to do product reviews on my channel. And a lot of the history that he gives, he inspired me to do that. I learned some of this from Eric, and Eric is very good. I remember when he was starting to build his O-Gauge layout. This is when I was young. It's been in the progress for him over 15 years. And Eric is very good. Every time I look at one of his videos, I'm impressed with it. Because of the fact that he's detailed, he is very precise, and he runs MTH and he does Lionel. He's also run some Atlas. Mom and Sons Train Rail Fan says, okay, bud, thanks for being awesome. Talk soon. Good to see you, Tammy. Thank you so much. Come back on the streams anytime. Should scale trains do the AC44 C6M that Steve just asked about? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. They ought to do one. Because let me tell you something. They would do a really good rendition of that and the CM44s that, that CSX has. So keep on the questions, guys. Man, we got a really good start in, guys. We got a really good start. So, hold on, Joanne. I'll get to the comment here in just a second. Hang on one second. Have you ever come to Jersey to come see some trains? Not yet, but that's in my plans. That's in my plans. But keep on the questions, guys. Please keep them coming. I love this. I really love this. So, yeah, please keep on the questions, guys. This has been really enjoyable so far, and I love the fact that a lot of people are very creative when it comes to this. So, please continue to ask questions, because I might be able to help you fix something, you know, that you're working on the workbench, or even something else that might be a problem. But what I plan to do is keep on doing live streams like this, and, you know, maybe even do like the how-tos and do a live stream of this. And you can definitely ask questions like that when the live stream is. I might just do a live stream, because the live streams have been really popular right now on the channel. And it's all thanks to you guys, and this, you know, the support is greatly appreciated and much more. So, going back to the chat at hand, Steve comes in with another question. Do you find it interesting when model railroaders run mid DPs on trains? Yes, I love it. It's the real deal in a model railroad setting. I've always liked that. Always liked that. Joanne asked another question. How do you fix up a train? Well, depends on what you're asking. You're asking about repairing it or actually painting one. If you could please be a little bit more specific, that would be great. Okay, repairing the train. Okay, and Steve, hold on, Joy. I'll get to you in a second. Steve says, I really wish Acura kits came with metal wheels. Thank you. Now, I will say, some plastic wheels are pretty good. Like the AHM wheels, those are pretty good. The Athearn plastic wheels are pretty good. The Tyco wheels, they weren't the best. Now, for N-scale micro trains, the little trucks I've been putting on my N-scale stuff, When I replace the trucks, I put Microtrains parts. They're designed and manufactured domestically. And the plastic wheels they put on their trucks are very, very nice. So let me tell you, for N scale, if you want to replace the old trucks and put new ones on, Microtrains is the way to go. Now, Joy says repairing the train. Well, there's a lot of aspects when it comes to repairing something. Trains can actually be repaired. Sometimes it's simple, sometimes it's complex. It depends on not only on what it's done. If it's an older locomotive, there's no computers. A lot of it is mechanical, which means gears, wheels, bearings, brushes, things like that. Brushes are inside the motor. It depends on what it is. And now sometimes you can take it apart, clean the wheels, clean the gears to remove all the old grease and oil with some rub and alcohol. Now, rub and alcohol, let me stop here for a second. Rub and alcohol is the way to go to clean your track. And speaking of that, I'll mention this now. Do not use steel wool. Do not use a Brillo pad. Do not use an SOS pad, because steel wool will ruin locomotives. It will cause short circuits, and it will destroy a locomotive, and it will destroy your track. So do not use anything steel wool, SOS, none of that. And Steve comments on that too. I've repaired trains in many. Was it soldering the wires? Good point. Cleaning gears and oil in the motor. Yes. Steve hit another one of the points. He just took the thought right out of my head, and that's a good thing. Steve and I are thinking along the same lines. Sometimes it's fresh oil and grease. Sometimes it just needs some run time. But it's always important to put in fresh grease and fresh oil, because if the grease hardens up, it will damage gears, especially if it's plastic gears. And let me tell you something. Fresh oil keeps everything running smooth as a whistle. Soldering the wires is fun. I will say this. I love using a soldering iron. I love the smell of solder. I love using a soldering iron, because a lot of things can be repaired by just doing some stuff that's simple. And a solder with a good soldering iron is really good, because you never know when you need to repair a wire. Well, a solder, what that is. So, also, thanks, Pat, for what not to use to repair locomotives track, like steel wool is not to be used to fix trains. Yes, sir, my pleasure. Because there are a lot of guys out there who ask, should I use steel wool? No, sir, because the fibers will ruin a locomotive. Now, rubbing alcohol is good. It evaporates. It's inexpensive, because you can get that at like Walmart, your local drugstore, or you can just get it out of your medicine cabinet if you have some at home. Now, another good track clean you can use is Goo Gone. Goo Gone is when I actually use it for the really, really greasy stuff. But that does leave a residue, but sometimes I'll just go back over with alcohol to wipe it off. Brian J comes in. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Happy holidays to you, brother. Happy holidays to you and everybody. Anything else not to use? Let me think. Scotch-Brite pads I don't recommend, just because of the fibers. The fibers might ruin it, but especially steel wool. Steel wool, do not use steel wool. I hate using steel wool with a passion. I hate handling it. I've never been a fan of it, because you have the metal fibers possibly on your hands. You got to wash your hands thoroughly. Oh, yeah. Steel wool does some good things, but I've never been a fan of it, okay? So definitely do not use steel wool. Redding Rails, what's up? Long time no see you, brother. Good to see you. Redding Company Productions asks, big question, were there any NJT Comet IBs in HO or N scale? I think there's been a little bit of NJ Transit produced in years past, but I don't know if anything has been produced recently for them. I'm not 100% sure. Guys, comment in the chat if anybody knows that answer. I'm sure I think Lionel did an NJ Transit set, I think back in the 90s, maybe late 80s. Comet 2s, 3s, 4s, not 100% sure. If they have produced them, it's been years. So continue to ask, guys. Continue to ask. This is good. And it's one thing important to know, guys. When you want to repair things, there are always YouTube videos of where you can watch some how-tos. I have done some as well for some of this. I have done some how-tos. Good. I tell you, Facebook groups are good. That's where I learned some of my repair tricks. And it's also good to have some repair manuals, and I'll bring a few of them out here in just a moment. So I'll definitely get those in just a minute or two. I've got a couple of those. The train show I went to last weekend and did find a rare caboose equipped with a track cleaner. It's an IHC car. Yes, IHC. That's a brand that International Hobby Corporation. Yes, I do have one IHC car. That's my SCL grain car, and that's been rebuilt too with KD couplers and everything. Brian J comes in. Pat, how do you decide on what locomotives cars ride the rails under that tree? Is it some sort of Hunger Games competition? Well, let me think. Well, I do have a couple of suggestions for that I can offer. Looking at my tree, I don't have like the real big heavy ones that bring the limbs down, which does help. So if you're not using anything that's real heavy on your tree on the bottom, that does help. With me, right below is HO. It's HO underneath. Now, O gauge is perfect for a Christmas tree. HO gauge is perfect. I've done HO because, to me, it's the perfect height. I have never had problems with HO underneath it. HO looks good under there. I've had guys do G gauge underneath, but G gauge is really big and your clearance is limited. But O gauge and HO gauge are perfect. N scale doesn't look too bad under the tree, but it's pretty small. HO and O gauge are the perfect ones for that because you have enough clearance between the height of the car and the locomotive with the track and the tree. So I've determined that from the scales over time. Now, you can make something that fits around the tree. I have an O gauge loop that I now use for testing, but that was made to go around the Christmas tree. My dad built it in 2 small panels, and it does work like that too. Stephen Casey with a couple of comments. Yes, and it's quite easy to take out the horn hook couplers. Yes, I've done that for a lot of my HO scale upgrades. Well, rebuilds, I should say. But those are really easy to do, and I have done how-to videos on that as well. So definitely take a look at those. I hope Athens does CP6644, my favorite CP Vets unit. Yes, I agree. That's a pretty one. That's definitely a pretty one. So guys, continue to ask questions. This is good. Keep it going. So I'm just sitting back here relaxed a little bit, just having a little bit of fun. So definitely continue to ask, guys. Definitely continue to ask, because would love to hear your feedback on some of the things that you're working on and maybe how else I can help. Let me get some the manuals real quick, and I'll show you guys what they look like, and I'll be right back. So keep on asking the questions. I'll be right back. All right. We have another user, a couple of users on. Ready Rails who got something, and Southeast Beltline comes in. What's going on, brother? Great to see you on here. Working to do some new videos in Virginia soon. Awesome. Trying to catch a few trains at Tyler. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Ready Rails says, I want to see Athearn model out NS 34 and 38, the geometry units. Yes! Would love to see that too. Steve asked, should the CP Holiday Train locomotives in Royston be done in HO or N scale? I really would love to see them done in HO. Would love to see them in HO. That would actually look really good in HO. You can have it right under your Christmas tree. That's the perfect time for the holiday train. CP does a beautiful holiday train. So I've seen pictures of it. I've never seen it in person. But yes, I have actually found some manuals that I've had here at the house that I use when I repair my Lionel trains. This is what I have. This is the one my dad found back years ago. So this is one for Lionel trains from 1945 to 1969. These are for some of the older stuff, but it has a lot of good useful information in here, and plus you can find basically anything you want in here, and it talks a lot about, you know, what the locomotives are that are in the book that were produced during that time, the parts with the part numbers in there, which are really good. And I have actually used this manual to repair some of the stuff I have out there, which is great. This one here I found a couple of years back, more or less the same thing. Complete service manual for Lionel trains. I've actually found this, I believe I found this on the internet, and it was a really good source of information, and plus, like, it gives you a whole parts breakdown on a locomotive. It even tells you, you know, facts about the locomotive, how it all works, and even the different parts of the locomotive where you can pinpoint what's wrong with the locomotive. Because you have this on your workbench, you can look at it, and you can say, hey, this is my problem here. What's the part number? Look it up on the internet or wherever. You can go to your local train store and get the part. And from there, you can get the part, bring it back to the workbench, fix it up, and you reassemble it and put it all back on the track. So manuals are good, guys. YouTube videos are good. And even you see how-to videos on YouTube all the time. But it's always good to have the actual books because you're looking at the parts breakdown. You are looking at the components in the illustrated version of the book, and it will help you pinpoint your problem. Let's see. I've got some other comments in here. Yeah, there sure is. That a Southern E8? Yes! A Southern E8 6900. Yes, sir. I wear a shirt with pride, man. I love the Southern Railway. Pat, you need that Lionel hand cart under there. Well, excuse me, but I will say this much. The hand cart is really, really nice. It's a cool accessory. Steve Casey asks, do you have any model railroading magazines? Oh, have I read a whole bunch of those in my time. I love model railroading magazines. I love reading them. You go, like, you know, all the pictures like, oh, this is a nice, this is like, see right here. Let me take a look at this one. Hey, this is a kind of cool trick in here. That's a good source too. That is a good source too. Because you can look at this and you can learn from the magazine of something you can do with your layout. I've always loved model railroader magazines. I've loved looking at what they've got. And even your local library is a good source as well, because most libraries have a section on model trains. And you can check out the books, you can use on something, whatever you're doing, and you can even buy some books if you want to. And your local train store, or even your hobby store, your hobby shop, excuse me, will have some books on model railroading, and they're a good source of information. It's always important to read the book, guys, because the books give you a whole lot of details. And I can go find some of those books here in just a few minutes. Let's see. Southeast Bell asks, do you think Amtrak is realistic for Suffolk? Are you talking about model trains or the real deal? Please be more specific. Favorite thing to look at train show layouts. Really good question, Steve. And Steve, thank you for what is for clarifying that for Southeast Beltline. Okay, getting back to Steve's question, there's a lot of good things I look at train shows. First off, I look at the different scales that are there. A lot of different scales are present. I look at the details and maybe something unique on their layout that I've never seen before. I even look at S-gauge layouts. If y'all remember last holiday, I saw an S-gauge layout, and it had a handmade construction scene where the back of the bulldozer actually backed up and knocked over a set of lights. And the guy actually made it himself, and I thought it was very cool. definitely want to check that out a little. I think it's Carolina S Gagers Christmas Layout 2020. I think is the title. But you got to go back sometime on the channel for that. But that's up there. That was really unique. And I've seen a lot of layouts over time, and I just love it. I love looking at layouts because you can push the buttons to see something happen. Or you can actually see, you know, like the 50s diner, you know, the car pulls up to the drive-thru and gets the food, or the car coming out to the gas station to get gas. That's the cool stuff right there. And I love seeing cool stuff. Southeast Beltline says, I've always wanted Lionel. I only have HO. And HO is a good scale. HO is a fine scale. Lionel does some HO, speaking of it, but they don't do a lot. But they do some HO. All right, for Model Train, I haven't been around the area in a while. Okay. I'm not sure what's running on the Amtrak in Southern versus what's available in HO. Well, for Amtrak, I will say there's a lot of options out there for HO for Amtrak. For locomotives, Athearn has done the releases of the Genesis, but Kato has done a really pretty rendition of the Amtrak Genesis. Oh, wow, NW Railfan comes on. What's going on, man? I'll get to your question in just a second. Hang on, guys. Keep the questions coming. I'm looking at Southeast Beltline's question for just a second again. You can get Amfleet cars, and that's what you see on the Norfolk District. And you've probably seen that in my video, too. You have the Amfleet cars, and usually we have a Genesis, either one of the Heritage units or even a regular Genesis now. Kato has done the 50th anniversary units, and those look pretty. Kato is pretty good. They do DC locomotives, but you can upgrade to DCC. Now, you've got to tell me, do you do DC layout or do you have a digital command and control layout? Please be specific for that Southeast Beltline. Please confirm that for me. That's Travis. What's going on, Travis? I didn't recognize your YouTube name for a second. Good to see you, man. What would be the best brand for HO? I've got Intermountain and Bachmann. Two really good brands. Another brand that I recommend is Athearn. Athearn is awesome, especially Athearn Genesis. Most of my locomotives, Athearn Genesis. Atlas is right behind them. Atlas is right behind them. Intermountain is good, and so is Scale Trains. But with me, as far as pulling power, I prefer Athearn Genesis. For sound, if you have GE locomotives, go with Loke Sound. For EMD, go Tsunami 2 Sound. So I hope that answers your question. If you've got more questions, Travis, ask me. Ask me as many questions as you like. Guys, there is no limit on questions. The one thing you have to do is type one up and put it on the chat. That's all you have to do. The Model Train Room comes. A lot of new users up here. Hey, what's going on, man? Great to see you on here. Have you ever had a QC issue with Bachmann, a quality control issue with Bachmann? My ACO 42 charger had been missing a marker light prism, so it would have to be sent in. Well, I have never had a really major issue with factories in general. I've had one small issue where on one of my Athearn Genesis locomotives, the window was just popped out a little bit, and I was able to fix that with a pair of tweezers. I've never had a quality control issue, very fortunate. One thing is for sure, and I'm really glad you starred Bachmann for that as well. You starred that and told Bachmann this. Guys, when you're shopping for trains and something comes in, you have to make sure everything looks good. When you're at the store, you have that option. You have to look at top to bottom, left and right, you know, just to make sure the product is done right. Because sometimes there may be a small error where something might be broken, damaged in shipping, or there could be some missing paint. If something comes into you and something doesn't look right, you call whoever you ordered it from, or you call the manufacturer if you ordered it direct, say, hey, look, this doesn't look right, and they will be able to fix it. Now, I will say this much. I will say this much. Mistakes happen, guys. And, you know, some people are probably thinking, why do mistakes happen? Well, there's one answer for that. Humans are not perfect. We make mistakes from time to time. And, you know, there's sometimes, you know, something might be missing, like in Brian's, you know, statement here. And, you know, companies will understand, like, hey, look, something wasn't assembled right. Turn it in, we'll issue a refund, or we will fix it at no charge. Eric Siegel had a problem with his Alco set not remember the legacy address. So he just said, well, he contacted Lionel. He sent it in. They fixed it free of charge, and they sent it right back to him. And Eric was not hollering about that at all. Like, hey, look, the company recognized it. They handled it like professionals, and they were able to make it right. When it comes down to this, when you have an issue like this, you know, it may cause an inconvenience where you have to send your model in for repair service. I understand that. But a lot of it at the end of the day is the way it was handled. Did the company acknowledge it, and did they make it right? And same with the model train store. If it's acknowledged, and did they make it right? You know, they can send it off, or they can repair it right there, and they can send it right back and give it right back to you. I mean, people are really accommodating on that, guys, because you got to remember, you know, everything happens everything happens for a reason, and sometimes it just happens. So, Stephen Casey's thoughts on Broadway Limited AC6000s, a solid release. I remember when they first came out. They are solid releases. Brian just says, we're going through all your videos, so I'm so sorry if this was covered. Don't worry. But how do you store your collection? Well, I store them safely in a cabinet for the ones I'm not using. I just put them away safely in either a cabinet or even in a container where it's pretty well protected. Steve asked, which manufacturer makes the best crossing signals in HO? Well, if you're starter, Bachmann. For everyone else, I don't know who else does them. I can't remember if Balma actually did some stuff or Microtrains has done some stuff. But I know Bachmann is a really good starter if you're looking for something that's pretty simple to start with. Southeast Beltline says something. Let me get to that in just a second. Let's see. Hang on 1 second, guys. Southeast Beltline, getting back to this real quick. I'm restarting my layout fresh with only DCC going forward. Really good choice. I currently have no layout, but I'm going to convert the DC locomotives that I do have. Yes, I have done that, guys. Most of the time, I send my stuff out to a mechanic where the guy is actually doing it. Generally, the conversion takes only a few minutes. You can tell your technician at your local train store what address you want. Most of the time, I go address 3 because it's default, and plus they can program and test it right there. Generally, that doesn't take too long. So, I have a few Athearn and Intermountain DCC, and the only DC I purchased was the Bachmann MPBL. Yeah, the DC version, the DC locomotives, they can have DCC. I have a Walters train line and a Bachmann DC locomotive, and those have DCC in there. The guy actually was able to hardwire it, and he said it takes a little bit of extra time, but he said it can be done. It just takes a little bit of extra time, but the conversion is not too bad, guys. And DCC is the way to go. And plus, if you've got locomotives that have DC in there, you can upgrade those to DCC, you know, at a fraction of the cost of what you could pay for, like, a new DCC with sound locomotive, for example. But a lot of guys go with DCC and sound. I have done that before because I love seeing sound. But if you just want something with just a sound locomotive lead and have a DCC behind it, I have done that, and that method does work. And plus, you're using what you have. I love using what I have. And plus, if you want to fix something, you can be a mechanic and be creative. And I've got an example of that here on my living room table, and I'll show you guys that in a few minutes. But it's good to use what you have. Gotta heat my coffee up in a few minutes. Steve Casey does ask another question. Let's see. Does it bother you when NSGE locomotives have low-mounted headlights for model railroading? Not really. To me, a model train is a model train. And sometimes, it's based right on the real deal. Sometimes it's a little bit different. And that's okay. Every train manufacturer is different. Every locomotive is different. It doesn't bother me as long as trains run on model train tracks and even the big trains. I'm happy either way. So, Model Trainer asks another question. Have you ever contacted Ather or Horizon Hobby with an issue from one of their locomotives? I've dealt with them before, but their only form of communication is via email. I've been very fortunate to not have that issue, but like I said before, they're always available if you need them. Because let me tell you something, mistakes do happen. And the way it's handled is the way you think about it at the end of the day. Because if somebody can recognize a situation and handle it like a professional, that's what you remember at the end of the day. So, now Southeast Bloodline says, are you taking it to a local shop? Local shops are the way to go, guys. Local shops are the way to go. There are some train stores out in this country, but it's not as many as you may think. In my area, there's only one. There's only one. And that's Dale's train station. They've actually done a lot of my work, but I haven't had time to mess with it. They're real good, guys. In the Norfolk area, it's Dale's train station. So, definitely. Local train stores, guys, are the ticket. Most of them are family-owned. I love it. Family-owned businesses are the way to go. Reading Rails comes in with something. There's a few train shops not far from me, and they got some neat stuff. Yes, model train shops are awesome. They have a lot of unique stuff in there from all different gauges and even some things out of the ordinary. And Southeast Bell says, I did my best to only buy from Dale. Yes, I knew Dale personally. Really good man. Really good man. Steve asks, what does the HO inventory look like at your local train store? Well, it's a mix of everything. There is some new things. There are some older things like older Ather blue boxes, AHM, older Ather. There's locomotives from Adler, Atlas, you name it. A little bit from Broadway Limited as well. It looks pretty good, and even for the N scale, I can say the same thing too. Little mix of everything, because you can find some things at your local train store just by being in there. You may come across something that's unique. You can find little cars that are in rough condition and you can rebuild them. You can find them and use them for projects. And you know something? I've done a lot of that. Find a car, fix it up, and it's running again. Just a little bit of TLC for these cars go a long way, guys. So, man, good string of questions, guys. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. So, keep on the questions, guys. Keep on the questions. Definitely keep on the questions. Ready Company Productions, no worries, buddy. We've just been talking a lot about the, different scales, my local train store, things like that, and also about if you had any issues with any of the manufacturers. This past I picked up a Genesis 2 Maersk cowl body SD, yeah, it's like the F45 or something. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, from a local shop. Didn't realize they were rare. Ever seen them? I've seen them in pictures. I've seen it in pictures. NS3329 was the Maersk Sealand locomotive, as well as a 100 series GP60M that ATSF had. That was done for a photo shoot out in California, I think. Norfolk Southern was the East Coast partner. ATSF was the West Coast partner. They were together for a photo shoot, and NS3329 wore that scheme, and I have that engine in HO. That is a locomotive that is not talked about often. So, definitely, that was a promotional scheme that they did, and it was really awesome. My local train store in Grandview, Missouri has some Scale Trains products. Awesome. Where's the festive snack tonight? I haven't decided what I want yet. Gotta think about that. Southeast Belton comes in with there's a local caboose for NS that Athlone did. The Southern Heritage and the NW Heritage. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes. And Reading Rail says, both of these shops near me has the Secret Valley line, which does train runs with 2 high hoods. Awesome. I just sent you pics, Pat. Thank you. I'll look at those here in just a little bit. You know what? I'm in the mood for ice cream. I'm going to give me some peppermint ice cream, and I'll be right back. So keep on the questions, guys. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Alright guys, I'm back, and it is time for peppermint ice cream with chocolate chunks. And it's real good. Yeah, buddy. Sounds delicious. Winter sweet ice, even though it's late fall. Man, I agree. Ice cream, scream, we all scream ice cream. Yes, sir. Just hits the spot. Man, bring on the questions, guys. Keep them coming. Now, Reddit Company asks, has Caterham released the GP40TC original GOT? What's original GOT? Oh, wow. Got some more comments coming in. This is good, guys. Keep them. Keep them coming. Southeast Beltline says, I have a hefty amount of rolling stock, but I have to build an MOW and Amtrak now. For MOW and Tidewater-based layout, what do you think would be better, CSX or NS? They're both unique. Norfolk Southern is busier in Tidewater, in my opinion. I would definitely go with NS on this one because they got a lot of cool stuff. Because their scheme is, I believe, orange, and CSX is fluorescent green, which is pretty cool. But I've been around a lot more of the Norfolk Southern stuff, and Norfolk Southern has a pretty good show when it comes to MOW. NW Railfan, that's Travis asking me, excuse me. I'm thinking of going with Scale Trains. Okay. I want to add to my GE Gevo fleet with a mix of DCC and DCC and sound. Since Scale Trains is good brand. Is that the way to do it? Well, you can mix it up. You know, I mix mine up. If you want to run DCC and sound like during the day, for example, you can. And let's say it's quiet in the evening and you don't feel like blowing the horn or ringing the bell, you can just go with a few DCC locomotives. I will run some of my DCC and sound stuff at night, but when I'm just tired, I'll just throw a DCC locomotive on there and let it go. And plus, the DCC locomotives, very quiet. The DCC and sound locomotives are quiet, but you hear more of the sound and less of the motor, which I think is good anyway. So if that answers your question Perfect. If I missed something, Travis, tell me. Steve KC says, do you think in the HO market, you think HO scale should do more NFL-themed rolling stock? Yes. There used to be a lot of that back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I did see some Kansas City Chiefs box scores on the train show layouts and would love to get that to the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, that's a local team for Steve. Yeah, that would be good. And for renting company Go Transit, Go Transit has actually been modeled. Not sure on the GP40s though, but I think the F59 PHs have been modeled before. The model train room asks another question. Any favorite post-1970s grain hoppers in HO? For me, I'm impressed with Tangent Models ribbed PS2 4750 grain hoppers. They're a bit delicate, so Intermount is a good second. I agree with that. I have never used Tangent, but like Intermountain and Athearn are tied for me. How do you weather your rolling stock? This is Southeast Beltline. I've used a can of aerosol paint and do it. I've used aerosol paint. I've used colored pencils. I've also used crayons. Crayola crayons like you would use in elementary school. I've used those. And I've used colored pencils. And yes, it answers it. Okay, Travis, thank you. Guys, continue to ask questions. We're on a good roll right now. This is a good roll. Take a little bite here. Now it's time for festivity. All right. A couple more comments have come in. Has any company done the EXO commuter rail stock and locomotives? Renting company, what is EXO? Steve asks, what's the rarest locomotive or rolling stock you've seen in HO or O scale? I have seen some things and produced in a lot of different things. One of the rarest for N scale is the SD40T-2. Like the one that I just recently purchased. And they're not modeled very often. Another locomotive that's not really modeled, I wish it was modeled. I'm just trying to think of it. I would really just love to see the Amtrak Dash 8 be modeled in N scale. The Dash 8 itself has been modeled in N scale, but not one in Amtrak. Would love to see that N scale. I would love to see a lot of different O-gauge locomotives that have never been modeled, at least that I can't think of. Just trying to think. Just trying to think. I would really love to see the CF7s modeled in HO scale and even O-gauge too, because that was a Santa Fe rebuild. I would even love to see GP18s be modeled in all the gauges, because that would be a really good asset for anybody's layout. Like to see this UP and CSX Tier 4 Aces get modeled. That's what Reading Rails has said. Reading Company has commented with you. I have a Bachmann Original HODD40AX as my rare artifact. That was a good release, Bachmann. I think Bachmann is still producing that one. EXO is the local Montreal commuter rail agency in Quebec. I'm not sure if that's been done. I'm sure Via Rail has been done as well. Blue, white, black, and silver livery. I gotta look into that. Hang on a second, let me take a bite real quick. Model train room comes in. Another model that should be remade is a better version of Rapido's Prime Mover Dash 8M. Yes, the first one is subpar detail and have not made another Prime Mover level of quality since. Wow. Yes, the Dash, the barn units. I love them in BC rail paint. That was a cool locomotive. That was a cool locomotive. Let's see who we got. Southeast Beltline, yes. Okay, good. Because I couldn't remember if CF7s were modded or not. But, yeah, definitely send me some pictures. I remember, I think Athearn is doing Via Rail P42 DCs. Yeah. Yeah. Because Athearn has done releases of that. Because I believe SMT Mainline has one as well. It's on their version of a Genesis. And they look good. And my Athearn Amtrak engine is a Genesis. And what's the name of that place over there at the Transportation Museum? The little choo-choo shop. I've been in there. I've been in that store. I don't go down there too often. But that's a pretty nice store down there for North Carolina. Man, guys, keep them coming, please. This is good. Oh, boy. Model Train Room ask, have you seen any of the Bachmann Chinese steamers? I may put a video out of one soon. No, I haven't, but I'm really curious on how these things look. I'm really curious now. Southeast Buck says, yes, the little choo-choo shop is awesome. They have some good rail books in there, too. Yeah, right in the back corner. Yes. I'm also not buying an airbrush kit from them for the rolling stock. An airbrush kit is very good. I have one. I've only used it like once or twice. But airbrush kits are cool. I'd love to see Kato model a QJ class in N scale. I would love to see Kato do that too. Especially some of like the German steam locomotives and even the British steam locomotives. I would love to see Kato do that. Steve says, I know Bachmann does Chinese trains. I love their steam locomotives. Their steam locomotives in general are pretty good. Bitters should be done at N scale too. This is very interesting. Model Train asks, how much would you pay for a new old stock Blue Line NW A class? Is $350 reasonable or a little much? Well, let me think on this a second. I've got some other comments that have come in, guys. I'll get to those in just a minute. Ethan Coggin comments, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Good to see you, buddy. I'll get to a couple of those comments here in just a minute or so. To the model train room, how old is the locomotive? I mean, it's like 10 years old, 5 years old, 15 years old. Please be more specific. Benton is one of the Mallard sisters. Oh, thank you. What's the most rarest HO auto train that you have? Boy, I don't know. Man, I don't even know. I haven't kept up with a lot of my HO stuff in a while. But I will say this. I'm fortunate. I love seeing unique locomotives in general. Some of the locomotives I have are based on uniqueness, or even ones that I have seen in real life, like NS 911, and a Southern 3170, 1629 being one of the last high hood SD40-2s in existence. Let me think. 1792, the SD45 high hood in NW paint. That's unique because I've always loved the SD45 with the high hood on there. 5642 because I've seen the locomotive. The SD70 Mac I have in CSX. That's the only CSX locomotive I have because that one is unique. I'm just trying to go through some of my stuff. The GP15-1 that I have, that is actually because one of the short lines that's in my area has a GP15-1. So that's just to name a few of the locomotives that mean something just because I've seen the real deal or I know something that's pretty unique about it. Like the GP18 high hood. Not talked about often anymore, but I've always loved it in the W paint with the high hood. And some of the other locomotives I have are just, like the GP39X. That locomotive is barely talked about anymore because there's only 6 of them made, and they're all built for the Southern Railway. Those were rebuilt by EMD, and now they're in service in Florida for passenger service. And they were rebuilt for passenger service. So, Ready Rose asked, did Bachmann ever model out the Flying Scotsman? I think they did. Steve KC might know the answer to that. Let's see here. Let's see. Thoughts on scale trains, museum quality locomotives. I hear they're nice. I've never owned any scale trains, but I do know for a fact that they are pretty good. NW Railfan asks, where can I get NW coaches? I've got the 611 in Bachmann with sound. Dale's train station in Norfolk might have them. I can't speak for them, but they might have them. And Travis, if you want their information, send me a private message in Facebook and I can get it for you. The blue line goes back about 15 years. Okay, so that's about mid-2000s. They have sound, but are DCC ready. Sound is okay, but far better than Paragon 1 Quantum sound. Okay. I guess the price is okay. I don't know the negotiation side, but I would definitely ask somebody like your local train store or somebody who's been in the hobby a whole lot longer. Because I didn't really start buying DCC and sound until about 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm still relatively new on that side. I do not own Broadway Limited imports. They are really good quality, but they're really expensive. But I will say I'm impressed with what they offer. RCP, not sure, but I think they did. Okay, thanks, Dave. Keep on the questions, guys. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Excuse me. Ethan Conley has thought on the vintage Lionel trains. The old school stuff? Bingo! I love old school Lionel. Oh yeah. Old school through the 90s? Heck yeah. I love it. NW, I have some coaches, but I'm probably going to let go when I start downsizing. Okay. Alright. But like I said, the old school Lionel stuff, man, is where it was made. That's where it was back in the day, buddy. I tell you, I have some older stuff in my collection for O-Gauge. I love it. Older rolling stock I have that I have rebuilt. And let me tell you something. I love the older stuff because not only are you seeing something of the past, but the older stuff runs superior. You can rebuild those things again and again, and it will not miss a beat because they were designed to be rebuilt. My steamer that I run on my O-Gauge layout, that locomotive has been rebuilt twice, and it's still running today. It's still running today. So that just tells you how the quality was back then, and you can get many years out of that train or that many years out of that car. So definitely something to work about. All right. Thoughts on Hornby UK model trains? Hornby is cool. Their UK stuff is cool, and plus the details inside the coaches are incredible. I love British Rail. British Rail has always interested me. I've always loved British Rail just because of their locomotives. Their steam locomotives are really pretty, especially their coaches. I love their coaches. Would love to see a grand tour of your collections on video someday. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Southeast Beltline, there is one little correction I would like to give. On the main street in Suffolk at that depot is HO. It is not O-gauge. Speaking of old school, Model Trade Room comes in and says, Mantua locomotives from the 70s to the 90s are tanks. Wow. I can take them apart and easily get them running. So I have a handful of their 442s. Yes, Mantua. Mantua. I love Mantua too. Tyco and Mantua had a deal back then as well. And those, I believe those products were made in the States. And they were actually really good quality. SMT Mainline has repaired a bunch of them. And so has Vintage Road and Rail. I tell you, those stuff was good back in the day. But the museum in my hometown is a really nice display of Suffolk back in the early 1900s. And that's all HO. It's a really pretty display. Definitely worth taking a video of. Southeast Railpan, Southeast Beltline, I'll look at you in just a second. Okay, Southeast, it's been a while. They used to have both the layout as HO, but on the displays they had Lionel sits. Yes, now you're right. Now you're right. I misunderstood. That's my fault. It's been a while since I've been in there too. They may be gone now, but it's been a while since I've worked there. Okay, all right. All right, it's been a while since I've been in there too. I heard of one of the museums in Chicago has an HO model train display. What are your thoughts on it? Is that I believe it's the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. I have seen videos of that. That's an impressive layout. If that's the one you're referring to, Steve. If it's not the one you're referring to, let me know. Broadway Limited's new PR 442s are decent, but their smoke units are disappointments, so was their price. So I promote the Mantua Atlantics as a great, cheaper alternative. Mantua is good stuff, man. Right, Steve. Chicago Museum of Science and Industry. Yes. I've seen videos of it. It's an impressive layout, is all I have to say. Ethan Collin comes in and says, do you like the LB&S CR E2 class model train? Can you explain that a little bit more in detail, please? And Steve says, yes, the one you mentioned is the correct one. Thank you. Model train says, all has NYC 999 in there, as well as the replica Rocket and Burlington. The Burlington Zephyr is there. Yes! I love the Burlington Zephyr. I love the Burlington Zephyr. So, definitely a cool place nonetheless. So, guys, keep it coming for a little bit more. Let's keep on asking questions, guys. Keep it on. This is a really good end of the year Model Railroad Mondays. This is wonderful. Speaking of that, I'd love to see the CP&Q done in HO. Agreed, because it was done in O-gauge, and Lionel did beautiful renditions of it. Southeast Balance says, have you been to the Lee Hall Depot? I've been past it. I have not been inside it. I hear they have an in-scale layout. They might. I have to go look. Favorite HO scale passenger cars. This is the model train room. Highly impressed with the MTH smooth side ones. Picked up a 5-pack of NW. Said hard to find now. Wow. Wow. I like Athearn's passenger cars, especially the ready-to-roll side. They're pretty inexpensive, and they're pretty well built. I have a set of those, and they are nice. They're nice. So, yeah. Athens passenger cars are good. Even Bachmann's are good too. They're really budget friendly. So, definitely some good pointers, guys. And plus, I know MTH has been kind of out of the blue there for a little bit. Is there anybody that can provide updates on what MTH is doing right now? If anybody can provide some updates. It is coming up on 9 o'clock. We've been working on this for about an hour and a half. What we will be doing is we'll continue this for another 30 minutes just to kind of wind down your last little bit of questions. We've got about 30 minutes left, and then we will end it here. So we will continue for the next 30 minutes. So you still got some time to ask questions. Scaletrain has the tool of MTH to do HO. Curious to see what they'll put out in the future. Yeah. I think Lionel got a bunch of the tooling. I'm not sure. But I think Lionel got a bunch of the MTH tooling for O gauge. Walther's Scene Masters Maxi Interesting Road Vehicle. I picked up a police car at the train show, and it's very well detailed. Yes, I've looked at those. They're really, really nice. Was CSX 9969 ever modeled? I don't think so. I don't think so. If anybody can confirm that, that would be good, because I don't think that train has been modeled. I would love to see the CSX geometry set done in HO. I would love to see that. So we'll continue for the next 30 minutes, guys, to continue to ask your questions. We'll end the stream at 9:30. So we will definitely be taking some more questions up until 9:30. So are there any tree packs for layouts from Bachmann any good? I've never used them. I know Lifelike used to produce some that were pretty good. I don't expect anything less from Bachmann. I don't expect anything less. If anybody has had those experiences, please leave a comment in here. Should Scaletrains do more NS Heritage units? Absolutely. And Model Train Room is out. Have a good night. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming on. Definitely come back and have some fun next time. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So I'll continue the stream until 9:30. I'm going to clear my dishes real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, we've got some more comments that have come in. Woodland Scenics is pretty good. They also have good live loads for coal and rock. Thank you for the tip. They're Southeast Beltline. Reading rails and was NS8520 modeled out. Yes, but only by Athearn Roundhouse. Yeah. Thank you, Steve, for confirming. BME Railroad, hey, what's going on, man? And Brian just said, I'll check those out, Southeast. Thank you. That's awesome, guys. We're working together. This is good. This is good. I got more snacks up here. I'm eating bagel chips now. Hope everybody's continuing to do great. Continue to ask questions, guys. What we'll do is we'll end the live stream at 9:30, so you still got some time to ask questions. It's been a really good stream, guys. It's been a really, really good stream. Keep on asking questions as we go into the last little bit of it. So there's still some time left. Ask questions. Let everybody know that you're on, and let's continue to have some fun as we close out the last little part of the stream. Would it be cool if the FEC and Ferromex fuel tenders are done in HO? Yes! Yes, those are cool either way you put it. Ethan Cochran says, the LB and SCR is the train that Thomas the Train is based on. Oh, wow. Built date was June of 1913 through October 1916. And the ticket also scrapped in the early 60s. Very fun fact. Thank you very much. I would love to see that done and mounted any gauge. Do you have signals or plan to have signals on your layout? Not really. I just like a loop and some track where I can just play with it whenever. I'm not really into signals, but I remember BLMA had some really good signals, and they were bought by Atlas. My NS Top Gun hopper was done by BLMA. So that was like one of their premier cars that they did, and it was a really beautiful rendition. By the way, I like your Christmas tree behind you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Also, Scale Trains delayed their Ferromex Zebra Scheme ES44s. I did pre-order this one. Awesomeness. Keep on, guys. Keep on coming. I can take questions for another 25 minutes. So we will definitely be having some more fun. I'll look at the comments here in just a second. Yes, the Top Guns were great, and those are so hard to find now. Yes, yes, yes. If Atlas can bring it back, I would be so happy to see them back on the shelves, because I remember when those cars were released when I was in grade school. That's how old I am. I remember when those were released. I finally was able to get a hold of one through a friend of mine. I'll leave that undisclosed. But I was able to come across one because I love the Top Gun, because it's a cool hopper. And plus, it's a unique car because it was a Norfolk Southern rebuild. Extra fat, its top speed is 70 miles an hour. That's a fast steam engine. Excuse me. And back in its day, speed was good. 70 miles an hour was good for the teen years. For the 3 years that locomotive was produced. I hope Bachmann and Walters or Bowser would do the Pier 6 hopper. Yes, I've seen the real deal. I've seen MTH Rail King did their own rendition of it that's on my layout. And you all have seen that one a lot of times on my layout. I just happened to find it, and I said, that baby's coming home. Hey guys, these are good. The Stacy's Bagel Chips. They're really good, but they're addictive. They're really good. Steve Casey comes in. Do you find it nice to buy trains for yourself at Christmas? I guess. I like it when I treat myself every now and then. I mean, I don't do it every time, but I do it every now and then. It's always good when you can find something you like and treat yourself. I always like to be surprised at Christmas time, just of what, my family has for me for Christmas, things like that. Christmas is a really special time for me. It should be special for everybody, but it allows, to be with your family, spend some time together, and just reflect on what you've done this year and how much love you have for your family. So, hey, bro, I just purchased the Athearn Genesis SD60E. Awesome engine, even more awesome DCC and sound. It's actually the first responders engine. That's what I have here at home. That's a really good engine, brother. What system do you use when you control the sounds? Easy Command Control Center, or do you actually have Digitrax? For me, I just use the Easy Command Control Center. The 911 Athearn Genesis nailed it, 100%. 100%. Athearn just nailed that model. Oh yeah, would love for them to do another run of them. Yes, I was glad that I got a few Top Guns when I could. Yes, agreed. You think Walters Mainline should do the 70Ms and Max? I think that would be the next one they should do, because I know they've done the Ace, and they've done some SD50s and 60s, I think. But I would love for them to do the 70Ms and Max. Thoughts on the North Carolina HO scale locomotives and the Norfolk Southern HO scale locomotive? Ethan, please be more specific on what locomotive for which railroad, because there's a lot of different types. And Reading Rails, thanks for the information on that. It's probably in for inspection. Awesome Digitrax and also the handheld throttle. That's a good system, whatever you got. I use Bachmann's Easy Command Control Center just because it's simple and easy to use. Digitrax is more advanced. With me, I just use a simple basic system. Digitrax is good. I talk with a lot of guys. I've talked with a lot of guys who've used Digitrax, and they say Digitrax is pretty friendly. And there's some systems where you can use the Bluetooth method on your phone and be able to do that as well. And Steve asked to follow Digitrax or TCS decoders. Digitrax is the way to go for decoders. And Rennie Real says, oops. That's all I got to say on that one. But definitely Digitrax is the way to go for decoders. My decoders and my converted locomotives, all Digitrax. So, keep it coming, guys. We've got it for about another 18 minutes, so definitely continue to ask some more questions. I'm still taking more questions, so please continue to come in, guys. Please continue to come in. I'm going to go put these away, and I will be right back. Keep the questions coming. waiting. Oh, sorry, I'm back, guys. I apologize. I'd love to see the rail grinder get modded along with the ballast cleaner. Yes! Thank you. Yes, 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 yes. About ready to look into an MOW set tonight, possibly starting putting the pieces together and build a locomotive shop too. That's awesome, man. Athearn Genesis HO80 Mac, Horsehead for NC Athearn, F59 PHI standard DC. The 80 Mac in Genesis is good. For the North Carolina locomotives, I prefer the F59 PH. But like I said, Athearn nails just about everything. They really do. Thank you, RCP, for taking care of that for me. I appreciate it. And Steve, thank you for backing that up as well. Thank you so much. I'll continue the stream, guys, for another 15 minutes, so we do have a little bit more time for some more questions. Definitely would love to hear what else you guys have to ask. It's been a really productive night. I'm very impressed with your questions. There's been a lot of good questions out here tonight, guys. It's a really good way to end the perfect way to end the year for Model Railroad Mondays. One thing I forgot to show you is I was going to show you guys something that I've been working on. I have a few cars that are on the side for waiting wheel upgrade, but one thing in particular, I'm actually doing body work on a particular car. Let me get it for you real quick. It's an HO project that I've been working on. It's this little guy right here. It is an AHM ore hopper. I believe this one was my dad's, and as you can see, part of the plastic was chewed out, was broken out right here and right here. And I've done the body work to it. This was done out of a piece of balsa wood that I had, in the shop. I sanded down the plastic just a little bit with some 100 grit sandpaper and just cut a small piece of wood with a hobby knife. Was able to fit it in there, sand the top part down with some 100 grit sandpaper to get it nice and level. And on the side, I just took a hobby knife and just cut it down. From here, this little side was just fixed with a little flat toothpick. Just broke it to length, put some hot glue on both pieces, and it was good to go. Now, the little detail pieces, I actually just used some testers. I repaired the frame on it with some testers earlier this summer, and I'm just now getting to rebuild it, so I should repair it. Then I'll go back over with this and just touch up with some brown paint and be done, and then just get a set of trucks, and it's good to go. So, and thank you for the nice comments on this, guys. I worked on this last night and actually was pleased with it, but that was one of the updates I was going to give in a future video. So definitely using stuff you have. Really good example of this, guys. I'm using one of my examples, and plus I have done a lot of cool things with this stuff, and the one thing I would have to get now is a set of trucks, and that's it. And these are the push pin trucks. We just put on the trucks, push in the pins, and you're good to go. So really simple to put trucks on, and also simple to upgrade the wheels. And I'll show you guys a couple of more projects as well that I'm working on. I've actually been working on some of the other stuff as well. This one here is an old Tyco reefer that says Pacific Fruit Express. The UP and the SP are marked on it because SP and UP partnered to move this train long distances. So, yeah. And this is just an old Tyco. The one thing that's waiting on is wheels. And the horn hooks will remain on there. These next two cars were actually my dad's in HO. This one here is an old red box era Tyco. It's not the brown box era. This was the red box era Tyco. Red box era was a really good era for Tyco. Base Pacific, ship Union Pacific. The one thing this one's waiting on is wheels. And I'll be doing these upgrades really soon. My dad also had another one. This was Bachmann's version. Bachmann's version is pretty cool. It's a little bit heavier. This one's still waiting on wheels. But this one has the push pins on the bottom. Bachmann was good about that. Tyco's has the little prongs that actually just go in. But I prefer the push pins because you can just push it right in and you're finished. But be careful. The pins are really easy to lose. So I would recommend rebuilding these if you're taking the truck off. Do it over some carpet or a matted area on your workbench. But that's what I'm working on now. So I am doing some projects in the workshop. So always good to make some time for the workshop. So, but yeah, as we wind down, we're getting ready to go through the last 10 minutes. So continue to please ask questions, guys. So please, I have some more time where I can take some more questions, and we will close this stream out. Highball Productions, hey, what's going on, man? Kato track or the Bachmann track? Well, I've always preferred Bachmann Easy Track because that's what I'm most familiar with. I've got guys that use the Kato track, the Kato's Uni track. I hear it's pretty good, but to me, I've always preferred Bachmann just because, first off, I've used Bachmann products since 2007. For N-Scale, I've started using them this past February 2022. And I've been really impressed with the N-Scale line they have as well. But I've always preferred Bachmann's Easy Track. And thank you very much, Southeast Beltline, for your comments. For Roystock, are there any brands you are not a fan of? Well, every brand is different. Every brand is different. You know, with detail. Sometimes it's budget friendly, and sometimes you want to go with the all-out, top of the line. Some guys like top of the line. Sometimes it's a fine line between both. With me, I like a lot of brands because of their uniqueness and some of the different releases that they've done. So, thoughts on the Athearn SD40 and the FURX Green and Silver? Really pretty release. Athearn's done that plenty of times. And Atlas O did that in O gauge. B&B Railroad says, I love my Digitrack system. Especially I added the handheld throttle system. Nice. Great system for beginners such as myself. Thank you for the kind words on that. You ready for Scale Train Steam? I'm waiting to see what they're going to do. Really, really, really curious now. I hope not a big boy. Too many on the market. I'm curious of what they're going to do. I would love for them to do the 611. I'd love for them to do a rendition of that one. I also would love to see them do the there's another steam I love too. The 484 Northern that ATSF did, because Bachmann's done an N-Scale version of that. But I would really love to see, some steam engines from like the 1940s, like the J1, like the Hudsons, the J1E Hudson, like Lionel did. I would love to see that in HO too. I think the steam should be in museum quality. Yes, agreed. This chat has made me really want to look up some new things and get back into the hobby more. Hey, thank you for the awesome words on that. I'd like to see someone do the U.S. Sugar Steam. Ooh, I've never heard of it. That looks pretty cool. And watch it be an 060 dockside. The docksides are beautiful. Did any distributors release the Westerner 1309? I don't think that locomotive has been modeled. I really don't think that locomotive has been modeled. Or the there's another one that I love to see too. I really would love to see 2156 be modeled. My next purchase is going to be the 4104 steam engine. Ooh. It is so hard to find one at a reasonable price. Any ideas? Well, keep looking, because you may find one at a train store at a good price, a train show at a good price, or even on the internet. But I'd be careful. I'd be really careful, but just be mindful who you choose. I hope Walters would do an NS 1071. Agreed. Ford 104, never heard of one like that before. Same with me, because that's a one big steam engine. And that would require one big radius. That'd be required a big radius. Hang on, guys. I'll look at the comments here in just a second. I'm sorry, 484. Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay, hang on, guys. I'll look at this in just a second. I'm looking through something real quick. You know, make a trip to Folsom. Would love to meet up. I'm not 100% sure. Right now, it just depends on my job and my family, and I've just had a lot on my plate right now. Any ideas? Let me think real quick on that. Thoughts on the Markland Z scale? 88569 Class C Crocodile Electric. Those are cool, and Markland does Z scale. Markland is pretty cool. Markland is very unique, and Markland is not a train manufacturer that's talked about a whole lot, because they mostly do the German stuff, and I believe they have done some American stuff. I don't think it's a lot, but I think they've done a little bit of it. I have one in DC. I'm looking for one in DCC with sound. I'd have to think on that one. Z-Scale, if you're looking for DCC and sound, I don't think Z-Scale has DCC and sound, because let me tell you something, trying to put a board in that tiny thing is almost impossible. And same with N-Scale. But for N-Scale, I go DC. Z-Scale, I would go DC. For HO, you can do either or. For HO, you can do either or. For HO, you can do DC or DCC, because it's big enough where you can actually work on it. With HO, I think that's kind of cool. Markland is cool stuff. Markland is very cool stuff. Like I said before, Markland is very cool stuff. All right. We're winding down the last couple of minutes. I'll take a couple last minute questions, and then we will wrap it up. As we close this out, I just would like to say thank you all for tuning in tonight. Definitely greatly appreciated among everyone. A lot of good questions to end out 2022. We will be continuing these into the new year as well. The how-tos for rail fans, since that was inspired earlier in the stream, I will possibly be doing the how-tos for model railroading. I think I said rail fan, but I meant model railroading. That's going to be coming out sometime after the new year. Once we get through the holidays and get settled again, and then we'll be able to continue with that. Ethan, thank you. Really good answers to my questions. Got to roll out. See you soon, brother. Peace. Thank you so much, brother. Should Bachman do the high hood 38-2s? Oh, yeah, and Athlon right behind him, too. So I'll have some releases come out soon, guys. It's going to allow time with everything, but no worries. Releases will be coming out again real soon. I'll be posting some things here and there. So this was a great chat. Southeast Beltline, thank you so much. Please come back and tune in, guys. Please come back and tune in, guys. I'm peacing out, Reading Rails. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you all for your generous support tonight. But I will be doing more live streams again. So fantastic Model Railroad Monday session, Mr. 5290. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. Appreciate the admin administration duties as well. Steve, Casey Railband, thank you so much for all your help tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Much enjoyed. Best wishes. Thank you so much. It's definitely been something wonderful. I'll definitely tune in. I'll get back on IG more too. Thanks, brother. Peace, my brother. Thank you. Thank you, B&B Railroad, so much. As always, guys, smash the like button, drop a comment down below, hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell for all the latest updates. I will be doing I'll do the video on the rebuilds I'm working on for the people who missed Model Railroad Mondays. I'll put that out later. But I will definitely be doing some more stuff before the holidays and well into the new year. So we have a lot more stuff that's going to be coming out, but just things have been delayed a little bit just because I've been working crazy hours right now, as well as I've been taking care of some personal stuff at home too. So I'll like and subscribe. Thank you, brother. Great stream, Pat. Steve, thank you for your help tonight and also for the good questions and everything. Thank you guys very much. And I will definitely be seeing you guys down the main, and I wish all of you clear signals ahead. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys on the next run. Peace out, guys. Thank you. May God bless, and happy holidays from Engineer Pat 5290.